eventually you get absorbed in, and you are Sonic.
What's up, everybody? I'm Taylor Olmstead, and I want to welcome you back to No Repeat, a podcast where we pick 3 songs every week with no repeats and no do-overs to create a perfect playlist for every occasion life throws at you. Joining me are my co-hosts, Tyler Reed.
All right, I got my pumpkin spice latte in hand, got my flannel on, I'm all prepared to talk about my favorite songs for fall.
It's not time yet! And my more rational co-host, Sean Evans.
I have a song this week.
Oh, yeah?
Hey, me too!
Would you like to share with the class?
It'll be shared with the class.
Okay.
They'll get to hear it. That mine is, yeah, we'll get to that.
Will
That's the
we
show.
hear it?
Every week is Listen and Tell here on No Repeat podcast.
No
That's
show.
true.
Not the visual medium.
Which right now I just realized is super ironic that we do a show every week and basically repeat the format over and over.
That's what makes the title so good.
It was the best name convention we ever came up with.
It took me 147 times to finally realize that.
That's right. Well, it is an annual tradition around here in the last-ish week of August to look back upon our summer months, even though summer is not quite over, and crown what we think is the song of the summer. This is a tradition we started on our old podcast, Dude's Brunch, and it's continued on into No Repeat. We're in probably year 5 or 6 of crowning songs of the summer around here. And just to refresh our listeners or inform listeners who maybe haven't been with us for that whole run, basically, the song of the summer doesn't have to be the number 1 song on the Billboard charts for the summer, or even necessarily like the zeitgeisty song, although that certainly helps. The idea here is that we're trying to pick the song that best fits both the culture and our mood about the summer. So oftentimes these end up being songs that were popular over the summer, but not always. The song does not have to have been released in the summer, but it must have been released within this calendar year. I think that covers everything, right, guys? So with that being said, let me pull up our list from the last couple of years just to give folks an idea of what we're working with here. Song of the Summer 2020, our picks were Laugh Now, Cry Later by Drake and Lil Durk, Super Lonely by Benny and Gus Dapperton, and Malibu by Kim Petras. Then for 2019, we had Old Town Road by Lil Nas X and Billy Ray Cyrus, Truth Hurts by Lizzo, and Party for One by Carly Rae Jepsen. So these episodes do tend to skew more poppy than maybe our traditional show because we are trying to follow the trends a little bit. But there's room for some improv here, especially in a year like this year where, honestly, reviewing the charts, I feel like, A, there wasn't one overwhelmingly huge song, and B, because of that, there was a really diverse set of popular songs this summer. Like, it felt like almost every genre was represented somewhere. Did you guys feel the same way?
Yeah, and I would say also there was a lot of I feel like in a way people kind of took a 2020 round 2, like Levitating came back and you're like, that's not really how this works. I think The Weeknd also took had an Ariana Grande remix. You're like, that's still
Well, we should also say we're hitting kind of the lull in the production cycle where the stuff that came out summer 2020 was probably recorded fall winter 2019. And so now we are hitting the lull of like stuff that should have been recorded in the pandemic but wasn't. So that's part of it. But I agree. I do think that we saw a lot of songs that have been popular all throughout the pandemic, especially songs associated with TikTok memes, just kind of ride into and through summer 2020 in a way that I didn't expect.
Yeah. Like last summer was stacked. Like there was like it's almost a shame that I ended up picking. I don't think it was bad that I picked that Kim Petras song. I still love that song. It's still like I think it was a good song for that year, but I feel like, like Dua Lipa was really having a summer. I've like Charlie XCX put out an album that was pretty good too. And like, man, I probably would have loved to have picked either songs from there or even The Weeknd. Like Save Your Tears would have been great. But
Yeah, and I found too that like we're still kind of dealing with this emotional hangover of 2020, where even some of the new stuff that came out just didn't really have the summer bop energy that I was looking for. Like, we'll talk about this when we get to B-sides, but there were a couple of really high-profile records and even popular songs from this summer that they were just a little too low-key for me when I'm looking for a summer hit.
yeah, and I feel like we should maybe just go ahead and just say, because none of us really picked "Good for You" or I forget the Willow song, but like I feel like we kind of
Transparent Soul by Willow.
Yeah. I feel like we didn't pick any of those songs, and I feel like those were probably, like, if anything, probably going to be a long-lasting impact, I think, on the industry in terms of like sort of like synergizing pop and like a more like pop punk kind of thing. But I feel like we've been talking about that this whole year a little bit. We've had some sprinkles in there of sort of the sort of matching of genre, but I feel like that was probably one of the big sounds probably from this summer, if I had to guess.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of pop punk nostalgia. We'll talk about that a little bit on my pick, but to be honest, I feel like Good for You, Olivia Rodrigo, it just peaked too early and became too popular on TikTok, and I'm sick of it now. And there's also the whole like minor controversy of her having to eventually give Paramore a writing credit on it because it's a little too similar to one of their songs, which I mean, I don't count that against her because that happens to a lot of artists anymore. But yeah, I was just kind of tired of that song. I didn't want to give it any more time. And to be honest, I like the Willow song, but I haven't spent a lot of time with it. And I know it's been huge, but Sean, what was your kind of readout on the scene this summer? How were you feeling?
I thought this summer was kind of eh.
Yeah.
I didn't think I feel like we're kind of in this weird eye of the pandemic period right now. Like, I feel like maybe we're coming out on the other side of it, like we're going through the back half of the storm maybe. But I feel like it's very much, since the music industry is predicated on making money, like I just feel like the releases haven't come because there's not a lot of people that are going on tour or want to go on tour. So we just have this 2020 kind of started it, but 2020 was like the realization of it, that there is just a lot of like card holding right now with like a little bit of teaser just to get you there. So I'm not saying that there wasn't songs that I liked that came out. I feel like this was 2021 is the year to be an indie artist and get your stuff out there because you're not afraid, because you don't have anything to lose, right? Like, and I feel like I found a lot more indie bands this year, and the indie music has just been killer. People have been more into it. It's been more on YouTube. I feel like I found like hours and hours of playlists on indie music. But it just hasn't, but given that it's indie, it couldn't really fit this challenge. But
yeah, there was no like monoliths. I feel like you said, everyone's holding their cards for like when this thing's gonna ever be over.
Right. And I just feel a little bit like, I know there are artists out there that are working on music and making it and they want to go on tour, but nobody's really putting it out yet because they don't want to, unless they can do it and go on tour, they're not really going to want to do it. It's not that, it's hard to keep that hype going. Oh, I love it. Let's buy tickets or, whatever happens. But also, that doesn't mean that there's not good stuff that came out. Like, the songs that you guys picked are good songs. The song that I picked was really good. I found it in an organic way outside of charts or anything like that because, I don't look at charts and I don't listen to the radio. So I really have to depend on Spotify, honestly, to tell me when I want to know what they are. And I feel like their algorithm is pretty good at figuring that out, like what's getting listens and stuff like that. Or TikTok, like whatever Taylor shows us from TikTok, because I don't have TikTok. That kind of will tell me what's actually happening.
That does seem like, speaking of that, does seem like the strategy where it's like, if you put out a single and if it goes viral on TikTok, who cares about an album? Screw an album. You get a viral TikTok song, you're good to go. You don't even need. Well, yeah, you're gonna sell tickets just on that.
Right. The Lil Nas X model, has basically proven itself over and over and over in that front, and you see that in the fact that he's been on the scene now for almost 3 years, and he's just now teasing a debut album.
Is it the Lil Nas X model or is it the Gangnam Style model?
I would say it's more a Lil Nas X because there is this element of like you have to write the song around having specific TikTokable moments. So a great example of this is like the new Lizzo and Cardi B track Rumors, where the whole opening section is basically built for TikTok. The "they don't know I do it for the culture" part that is really like just an intro and then the beat comes in. But you can tell that she was like doing that on purpose because that's the part that now everybody's using in TikToks. Whereas I feel like even a song like Transparent Soul by Willow, you can use the chorus, I guess, but it's not really like fast enough compared to even Good For You, which like has a zippy chorus that you can really throw into a TikTok.
Which I feel like we need to like stop and be like, this is not necessarily a bad thing. It's just a different thing. You know, I feel like,
oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Because I feel like there's going to be some like,
I think if anything, it's just a return to like a more structured approach to songwriting as opposed to like, let's call it, you know, like, oh, woe is us for TikTok ruining music. It's like thinking more about classic song structures, thinking about like 50s and 60s rock and roll where like you have a distinct verse and a distinct chorus as opposed to kind of the blurry lines and more dancification that we got in the 2010s. I mean, there's not a lot of like disco influence on the tracks that we're talking about tonight, for example.
Oh, absolutely not. This is also a death knell for post-rock, a genre that takes 20 minutes to rev up and then might go somewhere. Oh.
Yeah, we definitely don't have time for that this week. Well, with all this being said, who wants to go first?
I'll go first. This week I chose Butter by BTS. So BTS is probably one of the premier K-pop groups. I don't know a whole lot about the K-pop spectrum, but it's something I've always kind of like flirted with, and when people have sent me songs, I've been interested in it. This is actually their second English vocal song, and so I felt like it was kind of important to, or it would be kind of interesting, kind of show you guys this group because like I'm looking at one of their official music videos and it's like 500 million views, and like the K-pop machine is unstoppable. And I think it's really smart that they're kind of like, you know, maybe we should, you know, they are English second language, and they're like, we're gonna try to, you know, let's see what we can do in America. And so I think it's gonna pay dividends. I mean, it was already sort of like heating up on social media anyway, so I feel like it's only a matter of time before they take over the world. I guess we'll just talk about specifically about BTS, but generally probably K-pop in general. It does feel like it's sort of like, it feels like sort of like a contemporary spin on the boy band formula, right? It's got a bunch of great looking dudes, they're dancing really well, and they're singing really well, and they're, you know, and along with that, it's also a sort of genre, or at least in their case, they aren't necessarily writing their songs. You know, it's definitely like made by committee in a way. They definitely have people like sending them songs. And so like this is definitely an example of that, where it's like they were looking for just another song to sort of pad out the summer, kind of like we were talking about. They're like, we just need another song, you know, right before we release like another album, you know, kind of like while the pandemic's still going on. And so they got, I guess, handed like a bunch of songs, and this is just one of the ones that made the cut. And so like it's pretty groovy. It's pretty nice. I mean, like, I think I've always in a way enjoyed the boy band sort of format. Glitzy, you know, it's high production, you know, but it's like clean, crisp, you know, there's lots of, it just really is like almost like the perfected version of pop music. And I mean, it's got some cool synths in it, you know, it's got lots of compositional dynamics to it, you know, it's got like 7 different dudes like all doing a little bit of the different parts, so you get a little bit of personality in each sort of verse. So I just think it was kind of just a good chance to kind of showcase the genre for the summer, because I feel like it's only probably going to take off from here.
I mean, when you call it the K-pop machine, I feel like that is perhaps the best way to think about it.
Yeah.
Like, pop music has always been very mechanical in some ways, and I think the thing that makes K-pop so successful is, like, it is unabashedly that. And that's part of what the fans enjoy about it, right? There is this kind of, like, almost reality show, like, peek behind the curtain thing going on, where, like, fans are so interested in the lives of these people, and, like, each of them are their own individual influencer with individual fan bases. I mean, it's like if the Backstreet Boys or NSYNC existed in the age of pervasive social media. I feel like One Direction was close to that, but just on the edge when they broke up. And BTS is, like, all in on it. And again, when we talk about, like, that distinct song structuring and the TikTokification, like, this song is perfect. It's got a lot of hard stops in it for posing, which is very good for both boy bands and TikTok. It has distinct phases with different sounds, which I think makes it easily reusable in different ways. But I think the thing that really pulls this together is it has an absolutely fire pop chorus. Like, I have paid a little bit of attention to BTS, but not much. And it seems like their like curriculum is strong chorus and then verses that let us show off different members. And I think that's a solid formula compared to, like, maybe a Backstreet Boys or NSYNC model where everybody's alternating line by line and it's like a round robin. That's not what this is. This is very much like a rap cypher. Like, everybody gets their moment in the sun, but they're all kind of separated by these big gang choruses. And I think that's a good model. The production is sweet. I love the synth tones on this. The little talk box on the bridge is fun. I feel like we're having a big comeback for Talkbox right now, post Dua Lipa. Yeah, it's pop gold. Well done.
This is like a factory-made diamond. Like, I was trying to think of a way for me to say that I like it's fine. And this is nothing against you, Tyler. It's everything to do with the fact that of what Taylor just said, that to me it really just is very calculated. And there's not it's the antithesis of rock and roll, right?
Oh,
like,
absolutely.
There's no tempo change. It's very formulaic. It's made to have the stops. So, like, Taylor, I'm never going to unhear that stopping for poses. Like, I'm going to listen for it for the rest of my life now. So thank you for, like, having that event for me. I appreciate it. It's not a bad song, though. And BTS is not a bad band. I feel like one thing that I like about BTS is, since it's really not their music because it's so formulaic, is I like their style. Like, I like how they dress. I think that they're very interesting to look at and dance. Like, they're fun performers.
They must have an incredible art director.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because even if you go and look at, like, they've performed this song on, like, every American late night show. For every performance, they have a distinct look, a distinct feel. It's very, like, Lady Gaga informed. Like, bring a whole vibe to everything. And I think, like, that's what you have to do to be a good pop star now.
But you're right, Sean. I have taken notes on all their outfits, and I'm like, all right, how am I going to steal this look? I'm not.
This is cute, and this is cute. Yeah, no, I feel that. That's why I feel like I'm. But I guess in that way, I think that's what maybe has made BTS a great 2020, 2021 band to have hits, is because they're, when everybody else seems to be like doubling down on sweatpants, BTS continues to show up and perform and do all this stuff, and maybe that's because they have agents and publicity machine behind them. You know what I mean? Like, they're really good at doing what they do. We're gonna be like, if you're doing like media studies or something, I imagine you're going to be looking at BTS in a textbook at some point in time on like media marketing, or how to, like, you know, what used to be like one person back in the day that was hauling around a band or a performer and making sure they were going to places is now, you know, this happy-go-lucky team of corporate board that places everything in its proper role, and then you go and do it, and it's a success. I just wonder how long this is actually going to continue, because K-pop was big before BTS was here in America, and there's lots of things from years ago where they were talking about how like lots of industries are starting to put together, bands for Korean pop and stuff like that, and I want to see how deep it goes. Like in 2025, are we still talking about Korean pop boy bands, or have we moved on to, oh my god, I can't believe that you can't find a used guitar anymore because Willow is, inspired a whole generation of children to want to go and take guitar lessons again. I don't know.
I mean, no industry lasts forever. I mean, I think that if I had to guess, I feel like, I don't think this is I don't know if this is the peak. I don't think it's definitely like going down. I think it's definitely still going up. And I would say, if I just had to forecast, I don't think it's going to be slowing down, at least for like a little bit longer. It just really just has to depend on, I don't know what it would depend on. Because it just seemed like the fans are so rabid for them.
Right.
Just for a lot. And there's more groups coming out all the time. Maybe there's just an overwhelming amount, sort of like a disco thing. And then they come up with something a few years later.
Yeah.
No, it is. I'm just saying there's a lot to talk about regarding K-pops, and like maybe the summer episode wasn't the right time.
That's like a whole separate challenge. We'll add that to the sheet. Sean, you want to go next?
Yeah, why not?
What you got?
So this week I chose Thought by Megan Thee Stallion.
I walk around the house butt naked and I stop at air mirror just to stare at my own posterior. I don't give a who talk behind my back. Knew better than to let me hear. Hands on my knees, shaking ass on my thigh shot. Hands on my knees, shaking ass on my thigh shot. Hands on my knees, shaking ass on my thigh shot. Hands on my knees, hands on my knees, hands on my knees, shaking ass on my thigh shot. Hands on my knees, shaking ass on my thigh shot. Hands on my knees, shaking ass on my thigh shot. Hands on my knees, hands on my knees. Say they wish a would, and I'm a genie. So hot, gotta stay in bikinis. He got a girl, but he keep begging to see me. I love it when a got a mouthful of BBs. No, I'm not.
This will be the second time in the past 20 episodes that I've said I'm not all about the song that I picked this week, but I think it illustrates a point. Let me talk about what I like about this song, though, because I picked it for Song of the Summer. I think it has a dance attached to it, which lends it huge to TikTok fame. I feel like the thought concept is very present in culture right now, especially if you spend a year inside and you're dying to get out. You're really wanting to do
in
probably
part
some...
to Miss Stallion.
Right.
to be fair.
But there are things about the song that I really like. I think that the lyrics of this song are really good. I like her rhythm with her lyrics. It's really good. And I think every time I listen to it, that was why I was impressed with the first time, because I was like, wow, these lyrics are good. Like, it's a definitely like shit on the haters song, which I appreciate, because when I'm riding my bike, I want to, I need a little pump up to get over that next thing. The shit on the haters song is like really good. But I think she has a song that's like really accessible, and maybe that's why it makes it the song of the summer, right? Like what bothers me about this song is it lacks subtlety. I'll say it over and over on this show that I like a little bit of subtlety, and it doesn't have it, but that's fine. Like, I really feel that's one of the things that I like about it sometimes, is that it doesn't need to have subtlety. It is very just like, when you're doing thought shit, you're not doing subtle stuff, right? But the other thing that I think I like about her is she's just like, you know what? I'm on top of the world right now. If you're going to come after me, like, whatever, you're going to call me whatever you want, whatever, like, look at all the stuff I got. You're just jealous. And, like, I kind of appreciate that. Like, I feel like there's kind of this, like, going thing right now in a lot of circles about, like, everybody wants it, but nobody can have it, and I got it so hot. And I don't know. We'll just start there.
Friend of the show, Tess Stevens, reviewed some Megan Thee Stallion stuff as part of her Synesthesia Taste Test video series on TikTok. I'll link in the show notes. But one of the things that she said specifically about Megan that really stuck out to me was that she knows her way around the beats that she picks. Like, she knows how to make her vocal stand out against the beat and not get buried, which is a talent that not all rappers have, even very successful ones. And I think this song is a great example. It's a relatively skeletal trap beat with some really echoey synths, and it's all completely out of the tonal range that she is in. So you've got bass and drums, and you got synths in the high end, and then she's right in the middle. You hear everything she says, which is also kind of a hallmark of her work. Like, she's saying this really vulgar stuff, and she wants you to hear it. That's like her whole gimmick.
Yeah.
And I think this song is an elevation of that in a way, because with WAP, you know, like, it was really Cardi B's song and she was on it. This is Megan proving she can do this all on her own. She can carry a song for 3 minutes and 10 seconds with some really tongue-twisting verses and still make it seem effortless. And I'm consistently impressed by this song. It also has some of my favorite Megan Thee Stallion one-liners in it, like, I am the shit per the Recording Academy, because she won a Grammy for WAP last year. Like, just tell him, Megan, like, the energy is so good. It's definitely got that, like, post-lockdown, I'm ready to bust out the house and just show everybody that I'm still here and I'm still relevant, and I think that's great. This song has been huge all summer, and deservedly so. I can't wait to see what she does next.
Yeah, this was one of the songs when I asked people for what their song this summer was, I definitely got this is one of the answers. And I mean, it's not a song that I like try to be bumping all the time. just because it's...
But every time it comes on, you're like, oh man, this is good though.
Because I mean, it's hot and heavy. It is both of those things, and it's because it's also so dense. Because and I feel like that's part of the reason why I think Megan Thee Stallion knows exactly what she's doing, and she's pushing the envelope again in a way that I feel like not a lot of she's sort of like picking up the mantle of like Lil' Kim and, you know, all the many like Missy Elliott and those before her. I feel like this is you know, I'm not like a huge expert, but I feel like maybe the last like couple like years, maybe the last decade or so, it's like maybe like women rappers maybe haven't been focusing as much on like the execution of the rap. It's more about like the theme, or about the style, more about the like the instrumental or whatever. But I feel like Megan, it's like, I'm a rapper. And like, I feel like it's very much like a skill based thing where it's like, listen, I'm gonna put out, and like you, like nobody's gonna tell me I can't do this. And I feel like that's like really endearing in that, and that's really like enjoyable to hear, because like there's no way she's faking this, right? Like, and like even like, I don't know, was WAP really like the first time we had like really heard her on like a main stage? Like, I don't know how long she's actually been in the game.
It was definitely her breakout. She's been around for a little bit, but that was the like moment.
And like, I definitely think like putting out like a song like this was definitely like proving herself. And it's like, I really gotta just be like, game, respect, game, you know, like, this is a, you know, like hard rap that just kind of goes in like this for like the solid runtime, and not always something I'm like super into, but like I have to respect it. And I mean, and like everybody else is saying, like the flow is great, you know, the lyrics are great, but yeah, it's a perfect song for getting down dirty in the heat of summer. That was one of the whitest things I ever said.
You are not wrong. Well, that just leaves me. And this week I chose Stay by The Kid Laroi and Justin Bieber.
If you can't be right, yeah, I do the same thing. I told you that I never would. I told you I changed, even when I knew I never could. Know that I can't find nobody else as good as you. I need you to stay, need you to stay. I do the same thing. I told you that I never would. I told you I changed, even when I knew I never could. Know that I can't find nobody else as good as you. I need you to stay, need you to stay.
I realize I'll probably get some hate for putting Justin Bieber on here from some corners, because people just don't like him. And I get that. I understand why people don't like him. But I think he puts in a solid performance on this, and I think this song is representative of some trends that we've been talking about on this show for about a year now. And so I wanted to kind of pull it apart and talk about why I think it's been so huge this summer. Of course, it has a TikTok dance, which is the huge part, and it's been humongous on TikTok. It's been number one for weeks and weeks and weeks on the charts. And, it's a white boy autotune rapper. Like, I don't know that the Kid Laroi probably has a huge career in front of him. He just doesn't seem like a giant talent in the way that, like, I feel like Kenny Hoopla is doing what he's doing in a more interesting way. But what makes this song work for me, I think, is it marries that Kenny Hoopla, like, emo-influenced rock rap that we loved with the 80s nostalgia beats of The Weeknd's last record.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So instead of a beat drop, you get a very emo, angsty, screamed pre-chorus, and then you get a big synthy, like, belted out long chorus. An honestly impressive second verse from Biebs, who is kind of singing his head off here with some whistle tones that are real high. Like, I'm not sure if there's autotune on his voice, but he's hitting some notes here. And, Laroi has a decent voice for this kind of thing. I think he would be a decent frontman for a rock band if he weren't doing this. But because he's doing this, his voice is really dripping with autotune. And it makes me want to hear what he actually sounds like. Because I feel like he could, like, if you give him a little more vocal fry and, like, take off some of the effects, he might be a decent rock frontman. He's got the energy, but that's not what this style is. This is about that auto-tuney, like, rap song, Drake, The Weeknd kind of thing. And the crazy thing is he's pretty decent at it. For a young kid on his debut single, more or less. Like, I see why this song has been huge, and it's been stuck in my head a lot because the chorus is just so catchy. I think it's a banger, even if I don't necessarily love either of the artists.
Yeah, I was pretty sus on the Bieber inclusion, for sure. Especially after Yummy.
And Peaches.
Peaches also.
Total flop. He wanted that to be the song of the summer, and it just fell flat.
No, it's terrible.
It's real bad. So he's really been striking out, but you're right, because he does add a nice sort of like yin to the yang of the song, and you're like, okay. And I think for me, not how much I enjoy the song regardless, I feel like maybe he could have did a little bit more fry in his voice throughout more of it to kind of get like a more of a balance between the two voices, because it's almost like you could just say that, like, you could almost like interpret like Bieber's like vocals as like him just Laroi doing, like just singing in a different way, which is kind of unfortunate. But anyway, so apparently this dude had been hanging out with Juice WRLD back in the day, at least they're friends, so I feel like that makes a lot of sense.
Not surprising.
Yeah. So, like, I feel like the sort of the continuation of sort of the legacy of like emo rap is still kind of continuing forward, and so I feel like it makes a lot of sense that this is a single that he put out. But I think all of what you said was really great. Like you're saying, I really do enjoy like his sort of like his almost like his growl in the beginning, his like a little more rough vocal. I think that's really nice. It kind of pairs really nicely with the synth in the back. And I, like you said, you were talking about the sort of like the Weeknd 80s synth added to it. I think you're right. That is a really nice like production style. I think it's very crisp. And I really enjoy it. But yeah, I mean, I feel like this is, aside from, I feel like it definitely, in terms of like an American audience, probably is. I mean, we could probably just look at the literal numbers, but like it would be, I don't know which one would between Thought and Stay, which one would be the top of the charts. But you said this one had the TikTok audience, so I think
yeah, I'm gonna pull up chart figures as you talk, but go ahead, just keep talking.
Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm basically done.
Okay. Let me just start by saying the reason I don't like Justin Bieber is because I have a feeling that he's a better drummer than I ever was. Okay?
Oh!
He's a talented drummer. I'm not going to deny him that. I am a hack, and I do it because I want to do it for fun. It brought me emotional gratification, not because I'm a semi-brilliant Canadian pop star. Okay? That said, there are a lot of holes in this music video. First off, that young man's room/apartment were way too coordinated and clean. I just want to point that out.
Okay, I agree.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. This is the, let's just get it out of the way. I think, Taylor speaks before me, and I don't have anything to say after this because his analysis of the song is like too good. So it comes to me, and I'm just like, yep, what Taylor said, just put it over here and have me do a little intro, and after that, right? Like the Weeknd's beats with, auto-tune, it's back. Yeah, I don't know. It's a 2021 song here. It's fine. We won't think about it next year. I couldn't even remember what I picked for the past 2 years. Like, I was almost going to say, Billie Joe Armstrong, we should talk about what our last songs were, because I can't even remember. And then Taylor read them off, and I couldn't even remember which one I picked. I don't even know.
Vividly, I remember which ones we picked.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe that just goes to show how I feel about songs of the summer. But I think this was a great pick, though. For this challenge, I think you did it like this. This and BTS were home runs. Mine was probably a little bit of phoning it in. But when I looked at the Billboard chart when we started the show, because I wanted to see like who's actually on there, this was on there. I think Megan was featured in something, but BTS was number one.
Yeah. What's funny is that Megan Thee Stallion actually remixed Butter.
Yeah,
like this week.
That came up too, and I was like, well, this is funny. Like, so everybody's trying to, do their own thing right now.
Yeah, so Thought Shit peaked at 16. The other two have both reached number 100, or number one rather, at various points. I can't find details on how long each of them have been on the chart, but suffice to say, everybody on this episode is doing real well.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, and this is time for notable B-sides. These were songs that were maybe going to get picked for songs of the summer, but maybe if you're me, didn't quite meet the challenge exactly right. But does anybody have notable B-sides?
I did. The one that I wanted to pick that I feel like was probably my song of my summer was Solar Power by Lorde. But I have two problems. First of all, I don't think it's enough of a banger. Second of all, it didn't chart very well. Actually, I have three problems. The third problem, Anthony Fantano ruined me on, because I listened to his review of the record, and I agree with most of what he said in that it tries to be a critique of, like, white girl wellness culture, but doesn't actually say anything about it. It just kind of, like, name drops a bunch of stuff. It's really kind of a hollow point. But anyway, the first song on this record really changes the meaning of Solar Power to be kind of like this ironic joke rather than an earnest statement, which is how I read it. And so now I have conflicted feelings about that song. Anyway, other songs on my list, Industry Baby by Lil Nas X and Jack Harlow. It's been a huge hit. I just don't think it came out quite at the right time. Best Friend by Saweetie and Doja Cat, another TikTok hit. And another surprising one for me, You by Regard, Troye Sivan, and Tate McRae. Really just surprised to see Troye Sivan charting at all. I love him, but he has not generally had a lot of mainstream success. So, good for him.
I had a few. The one I really truly wanted to pick in my heart of hearts, but I knew did not nearly have the numbers, was Bunny is a Writer by Caroline Polachek, which came out like a couple weeks ago, and it's super good, but almost every single one of her songs gets played after any of my playlist finishes. Spotify really pushes her all the time, so she'll get in there eventually. There was a Chai song, and Chai also is having a pretty big moment. They are doing lots of collabs lately, but just not quite star power. Be Sweet by Japanese Breakfast, Alcohol Free by Twice, which is another K-pop group, Pay Your Way in Pain. I don't think it's quite monolithic enough for it. Didn't have like the millions of views, and I feel like it probably could be better used at another time. And also, I got two up on the board of St. Vincent, so I have to let someone else choose. And then I have Look at the Sky by Porter Robinson, which is really also the song that I wanted to pick, but it really topped all the charts for EDM and dance music, but in terms of mainstream popularity, it did not make it, so.
The song that I really wanted to pick was The Spell of Mathematics by the Deftones. I just been like totally jamming to this song, and Deftones' new album, I feel like is pretty good. Another notable one would be Modern Guy by Death from Above, 1979. There was a remix just came out done by Grandson. It brings it into more of the poppy realm. but still maintains that gritty 1979 sound. I think that you guys can tell now that I really wanted to pick a rock song to be song in the summer, but there just wasn't a lot of like, I don't know, rock hasn't really reemerged, like, with the exception of Willow, and even then it's kind of, I feel like Willow's music is good. It's bolstered by the fact that it has a lot of star power behind it, which is fine. That's great for her, and her music is good. There's just not a lot of like, it's indie for a reason, right? Or it's rock and it's not popular for, because it's having its own moment right now. Silverstein came out with a new song, if you're familiar with old emo Silverstein, called Bankrupt. That was kind of interesting. And then I'm sure we'll go into a lot more on Billy Joe Armstrong's Middle School Notebook, but Spell of Mathematics was actually my first choice. It's just, to be honest with you, it was my first choice. And Megan Thee Stallion was my second choice, but the parameters of the challenge needed to be met, so here we are.
We are off at this point to record our Patreon exclusive bonus show, Billy Joe Armstrong's Middle School Notebook, where we will be talking about some of the biggest albums of the summer, including Lorde, Tyler the Creator, Churches, Kanye, all of it. We're going to talk about all of it. You can get that by just subscribing for $1 a month on patreon.com/NoRepeatPod. But Tyler, if people want to find you, where can they find you?
Hey everybody, you can find my design illustration work at rudepets.club, and as always, you can find me on the socials as Rude Pets Club on Instagram and Twitter.
Sean, if people want to get in touch, where can they find you?
You can find me on Instagram at TellySean.
And I'm on the socials at TC Olmstead. We are on the socials at No Repeat Pod. All of these songs will be added to the official No Repeat Podcast playlist on Spotify and Apple Music. And we'll be back next week with another episode of No Repeat.